start streaming. Okay. So, once again, History 101, American history until 1877, or like I said, as far as we get. My name is Professor Holt, Mr. Holt, Riley Holt, Riley. I don't care what you call me. I don't have a doctorate, so don't call me Dr. Holt. I don't have that. I probably should, but COVID melted my brain, so I don't know if that's going to happen. Some warnings before class starts. I will attempt to make the class easier with some humor. Also, there will be some sarcasm. Occasionally, especially when I'm tired, my filter might slip, and I'll make some terrible references. Also, when I haven't had sleep, everything will get worse. Yesterday was worse than today. I got a little bit of sleep last night, so like 5 hours, 4 hours. It's more sleep than I usually get. But yeah, so I'll help you guys out as much as I can. This isn't going to be a gotcha class, but at the same time, I can't just give you a grade. That's how I lose my job. So, show up for class, do your work, and you'll be fine. If you're here, you get the notes. I'm still going to put the notes up on Blackboard once we're done with each chapter, but there's going to be a lot of context I need to be careful how much I move. A lot of context in the class as I'm talking, so it's best to be here and, kind of pay attention. And I'll discuss, how the notes are going to be as we go. But all that said, if you ever have any questions or there's any confusion, let me know before class, after class, email, whatever. I'm always open to help out. But we'll get more into that in a minute. I forgot I need to do this. Okay, so history. Your dates, names, battles, treaties, kind of. I told my class yesterday, I haven't gone back through my tests, but if I were to go through all the tests for the semester and pull out all the dates you guys need to remember, there's maybe 5, for the whole semester, maybe. And they're really obvious dates, when did we sign the Declaration of Independence? And, well, probably not as simple as when was the War of 1812. But, stuff that was pretty pivotal, but not really nitpicky stuff. And yeah, those are important, but that's not what history is about. That's not what I was taught. I was taught that history was a series of questions because history is a story, and you can't have a story without the motive. So you have your who, what, where, when, and then your why and how. So let's talk about the War of 1812. That to me is more interesting than the War of Independence. So who had the war? Well, it was America and Britain. What happened? They had a war. Cool. Where did it happen? It happened in the U.S. and Canada. When? It happened in 1812. Boy, that was an easy one. Why and how? Well, that's the tricky one, and that's why we study history. Well, you've got British impounding American vessels. There was this whole sovereignty of the seas thing because Britain basically had control of the ocean. There were border issues, this idea of imperialism, which will take multiple classes to go over, and yet more stuff. And so it's this question that keeps historians doing their work. So this is typically, at least for my 103 course, my European history, this is actually something I have them mark down in their notes, but this is just something, don't worry about it. Y'all don't have to worry about it. But I do like you guys to at least just have this in your head. This isn't on a test, but free information. Historical lens. Because history doesn't change. The facts of history don't change. What happened in the past doesn't change, at least until someone invents a time machine and screws everything up. But how we view history can change based on the temporary morals and ideals of the day. Because there's this idea of being objective about viewing history. It's like, oh, you view history totally detached from any ideas of morality or how things are. It's like, you can't do that because you're raised in a system and this is how you view things. So like during the Cold War, we'd look back at Napoleon, because I did a lot of stuff on Napoleon for my European history class, so that was the example that I used. We'd say he was somehow socialistic because he lost, and therefore during the Cold War we will look back at everything in history that eventually fell apart and say, oh, well, they're somehow like how Russia is, therefore Russia's going to fall apart because the Cold War is scary. Though in the more modern history books, where the order of the day is like social equality, we look back at history and say, okay, during these shifts in dynamics between monarchy and, well, Napoleon wasn't that much better than monarchy, but supposedly it was this great reign of, there was better stuff during Napoleon's reign, but like how much better was it for, say, women or peasants than it was, say, under the monarchy? And neither of these lenses is wrong, but we're looking at history in a different way. We're focusing on different parts. Because most history is about the rulers and the nobility and like a tiny percentage of the actual population. So obviously what happened didn't change, but why it happened, or at least the parts we focus on, changes. So, why history? Why are we here, besides needing the course credit? And to use a quote that definitely is well past its prime already, it's the backbone of every society, etc. And if you get it, good for you. If you don't worry about it. You know, why do we care? Why do we care about these wars? This example is the War of Cuban Independence, which was a whole separate thing. That's actually from U.S. History 102, which is an especially interesting class if you guys are going to continue on and take that in the spring. You know, those who fell from history are doomed to repeat it, but like, who cares about America and Spain fighting over Cuba and sort of well, not sort of the Philippines. The Philippines were a whole separate thing. You know, Spain's not really a world player. America's not imperialistic. But it's still our legacy, and it's important to know about the past. Because history exists in patterns, and humans work in patterns. So we see patterns in things where patterns don't even exist, because that's just how our brains are wired. But also seeing patterns of humans from long ago and often not so long ago. Being a historian in the last 20 years has been a nightmare, because it's like, hey, stop doing the things we've literally done in the last 100 years. In the last 10 years, stop it. It's supposed to help us avoid the mistakes that have been made before. Some people don't do that. Okay, so cool, that's all well and good, but why don't we just do the highlights? You know, we know about all these wars. You've got the world wars. This was long before any of you, but the History Channel used to not be all Ancient Aliens and other weird reality shows. It was like nothing but the world wars, mostly World War II, because, you know, weird Nazi conspiracy stuff. But like, you had the World Wars, you had the Cold War, you had the various wars during the Cold War. While the political stuff, I don't mean just get to the good stuff, because it's an incomplete story. It would be like watching The Lord of the Rings, but just the battle scenes. There's no context. Now, full disclosure, I've never actually watched Lord of the Rings. I've only seen the first one now, thanks to a friend of mine who basically held me at knife point. I have seen all 3 Hobbit movies now, so it'd be like watching the final battle of the 3rd one and then being like, I don't know what's happening. There's 3 movies of context I've missed. But there's a dead dragon somewhere, but who cares? Who's fighting who? What's at stake? Why are they here? Why are there walking trees? So as I just said, history follows patterns that you can't look at out of context. In the patterns of this particular class, I will summarize the class in a single paragraph. You've got the exploration, colonization, the European powers fighting, spilling over North America, the multiple revolutions, the growing pains in the new country, gradually pushing west. And as we were growing, we experienced various growing pains, not simply pushing west and, genocide, but eventually tearing ourselves apart, and that war causing scars that continue to this day. That's literally the entire semester. But you can't just look at one part of that and it be a full story. Like that's why if you ever watch a history documentary and it's like an hour long, the first 15, 20 minutes are like set up to get to the thing they're going to talk about. So, okay, cool, we got patterns. Well, can history predict the future? No. But it can help us to try to make the future as good as possible by avoiding the mistakes of the past, like a land war with Russia. Don't do that. If you know anything about European history in the last, well, again, 100 years or 200 years if you really want to go back, don't do that. And, the history is the foundation. It sets the foundation for what we have today, and we set the foundation for the future. And, history can be traced by its wars, and war never really changes, because of course I had to throw that in at the end. But yeah, I hate that that's not actually in Vegas. But anyway, so what are we going to do for class? Come to class. That's important. Everything that's going to be covered for the test will be covered in class. Cool. Also there's the attendance policy thing. Now, the attendance policy varies between professors, so don't take anything I'm about to say and apply that to any of your other professors. But the policy for Francis Marion is 4 consecutive absences. That means 2 straight weeks of you being absent. Then I'm got to be like, I don't know if they're going to show up anymore. That doesn't mean 4 absences total. So if you miss like 2 days at the start of the semester, and then you're sick at the middle of the semester for like a day, and then you miss one at the end of the semester, that doesn't count for me. Don't worry about it. But if you're out for 2 weeks and you don't email me and be like, hey, like one of my internal organs exploded, I can't be here, I'm just going to assume you dropped the class and didn't tell anybody. But if you let me know something's going on, if we keep in contact, I'm still going to be posting stuff on Blackboard, and if you try and keep up, I'm not going to drop you. But don't just like disappear, because if you just disappear, I'm going to assume you're not here. But I have had students that I had a couple of students last semester that or last year that like had COVID at the beginning of the semester were gone like the first month, and then they were able to come back and they were able to pull through and make it to the end of the semester, and they did fine. But like, keep me up to date so I know what's going on. Reading the material helps. This is the first edition copy of the book because I'm mental and wanted to get a first edition copy of the book because I have a first edition copy of the second book, and I don't know, I'm a collector like that, I guess. You don't have to get a first edition copy of the book. We'll talk more about the book in a little bit on the syllabus. But all of my material, except for maybe a few things here and there, all come from the book. If you read the material before class, you'll have an idea of what we're going to talk about. So if you have any questions, it will either be answered when I go over it in class, or you'll have a better idea of what to ask. That said, I'm not going to require you to have the book, and I'm definitely not going to require you to get it from the university store because that shit's expensive. That said, I would recommend you get the book because it's literally where I get my notes from, and it's helpful to have. But I'm not going to penalize you for it. But it's also like when we do literally the next thing, when we do the papers, I'm going to be like, hey, refer to this part of the book if you want to do the default topic, for extra information. So it helps, but also you can do other stuff. So again, it's up to you. But if you're going to get it cheap. Yeah, try to be here for exams. Do the papers, because if you don't give me anything to grade, I can't really grade it. Well, I mean, I guess I can grade it, but it's a 0, and that's not something you want. And we'll talk about like how the grading works when we get to the syllabus. Also ask questions. Again, before class, after class, email me, catch me in the hallway. Obviously, for you online folks that are listening, I keep forgetting I've got the microphone. Just email me. I haven't used the Blackboard message system much, so preferably email. I'll try and figure out the Blackboard stuff for my online classes. But yeah, please, just ask questions. I don't want you coming up to me at the end of the semester and be like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, we've had all semester. Yeah, here's my email address. It's also on the syllabus. I'm not as new to teaching as I was when I wrote this. Also, when I wrote this, I was doing night shift security and would just like come in here after like a 12-hour shift and teach, and it was a nightmare. So that's at least not a thing anymore. But yeah, my email address, riley.holt@marion.edu. Just hit me up whenever you need anything. I've already had a couple emails from people, so it's not a problem. I'll get to you as soon as I can. I mean, it goes straight to my phone. In fact, oh no, okay, that's my other email. It's letting me know that my video is live, so hopefully it's got sound. Also, no. Just no. God damn it, History Channel. Okay, real quick, this is something else that is typically for my 103 class. In fact, they're not going to get this until next week. This is actually part of their first slideshow, or their first proper slideshow. But I like just doing this for everybody. And before, what's that? No, this is just a brain exercise. Now I am going to mute myself for the online class before you guys answer, because for the online class, you guys get to write your answers and send it to me via Blackboard as part of your attendance thing for the week. So we'll get to that. But okay, the question is, which of these is not a historical structure? So we have Stonehenge in England, the Roman Colosseum in Rome, and the Continuum here in Lake City. So I'm going to mute this. Okay, I'm back. Let me make sure that's working again. Okay. Adjust the, that's not right. Display settings. Duplicate. And here we go. Okay. So this is the syllabus. I'll also be putting this stuff on Blackboard. I don't know why this is over weird like that. I mean that we already went over this. This is your guys' class. Again, for online, you guys are just whenever the hell you watch my stuff. There's my email again. It'll just be easier for you guys to have because it'll be there for you. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys a lot of this is not written by me, so the really harsh stuff, that's not me. I don't really know how to fully write out a syllabus, so I take a lot of other people's syllabi and just kind of smoosh them together. You don't need to print these out and bring them to class. Now, printing them out is not a bad idea. I was actually talking to a former student of mine who is now off to college, and they were like, well, it's like, should I print out the syllabi? I was like, that's not a bad idea. You don't have to, but it's not a bad idea to keep them with your stuff. Here's the stuff we're going to be doing. We're not getting into the reconstruction. The reconstruction is literally when the next class starts, the 102. Explored American Histories, hard copy is recommended. I can't write that because I have to turn this into the school. There might be stuff on Blackboard. I might put stuff on Blackboard. If I do, I will tell you 100 times, hey, there's stuff on Blackboard you guys should check out, but I have yet to do that. Show up to class. I don't do a class grade like my professor did. But I would like you guys to ask questions, especially stuff specifically with the material. If there's anything that you want to add or bring up. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the papers. So we've got 2 essays. One's midterm, one's the final. Midterm is just around fall break, I guess. I haven't even looked at when that date is, so I'll check it out and see when that is. It's 2 to 3 pages, double space. It's not a long paper. Wait a minute. I do have I'll do that later. I don't want to pull this up right now. I'll give you guys the topic later. It's not super important. We've got months before it's an issue. Yeah, it's 2 to 3 pages, double spaced. I'll give you guys the prompt later. It's not an issue. I promise. And the final, exactly the same. 2 to 3 pages, double spaced. We'll talk about the topic when we get closer. They're weighed the same. I'll discuss about the grading a little bit more in a minute. I promise I know, even when I was in history class, the papers were always the panic time, and it's not really a panic time. I would prefer you hand them to me in class. If you can print them out, please print them out and bring them in. We've got a computer lab on the other side of the building. If you can bring your file or access your file and print it out there. If you can't print it at home, I can't print mine out at home because my printer's garbage and I just haven't bothered to get a new one because they're expensive and, again, garbage. If you need to email it to me, please send it to my email address, preferably as a Word document that's attached to the email. Don't do the, what's it called? The Google Docs share thing, because most of the time when I do that, they're like, oh, you need to get permission from them, and then I have to wait until the student responds to me, and it's a whole separate thing. If I can access it immediately, no problem, because what I usually do is right after class, I go down to the adjunct office and print all the papers out, because I still print them out even if you send them to me electronically, and that's how I grade them, because I like to physically have them in my hands. I do have to dock 10 points per day that's late. Sorry. Please don't handwrite your papers and hand them to me. I've had that happen once, not in this school, when I was upstate. Don't do that. Spelling and grammar do count to a certain degree, but only like in regards to if it's making it difficult for me to read. Like if the paper flows really well, but I notice a couple of spelling errors, I'm not gonna bother with it. But if it's really making it hard for me to read, I'm gonna have to pull a couple of grades, a couple of points. Sorry, that changes the meaning. So there will be 4 tests total. Hopefully, again, depends on how quick we get through this stuff. 3 tests and the final. The test will be multiple choice and short answers. The multiple choice will be most of the test, 30 to 35 of the 50 questions. So they will all be, 2 points apiece. And the short answers will be like, give me a name, or give me a word, or give me a couple of words. The short answer aren't an excuse to make you write a small essay. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence, or what was the name of the boat that brought the Pilgrims to America? Like really basic stuff. You don't have to write out a paragraph about it. Just give me the answer. There will be extra credit on all of these as well, about 10 points per test, which will just be more short answers, but much more specific stuff. A lot of times they won't even be stuff that's specifically on the on the PowerPoint. There'll be stuff that I've talked about in class that I thought was really interesting. So maybe pay attention to what I talk about in class. And the final exam will be structured identical, and they'll all be weighed the same. The final exam won't be weighed any differently, and the final exam will just be everything from the last of the test. It won't be everything for the whole semester. So the final exam will just be another test, basically. It's just it'll be on the final exam day. So, yeah, the final exam won't be any different. Sorry. Online classes. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing with that. I might do several short essay questions like I did when COVID times happened. Or I might be able to do the multiple choice and short answer. We'll discuss that more among the online students. You guys please behave. Don't plagiarize. Don't plagiarism. Don't plagiarize. It's bad, for the love of God. I dealt with that one semester, and it was the most stressful thing I did all semester. I had 3 students turn in the same paper. It's like, y'all, I'm reading these, right? It was not good. So don't do that. If you have a disability that qualifies you for academic accommodations, talk to the Office of Counseling and Testing. We'll take care of you. We have a testing center right next to the front office, which we can do for if you feel like you need extra time, or you want to be in a quieter testing environment, and that's also where we'll put you if you need to retake but if you're not here for an exam because you're sick or your car exploded or something. Okay, now this is the addendum. This is just extra stuff that I added in at the end. So here's my email again. I don't have an office because I'm an adjunct. There is an adjunct office, so if you prefer an office meeting thing, let me know. Again, after class, before class, email, whatever. We can meet over there if you prefer. But again, just kind of whatever. Okay, this is what I was getting to. Document project essays. Jesus, Kaufman. The document project essays are the papers. Anyway, so you've got the three tests, the final, and then the 2 papers. They're all weighed the same, so they all count the same. So what I'm doing with that is I'll drop the lowest, not counting the final because I need you guys to be here for final day. Because like if I'm sitting here on final day and nobody shows up, I'm getting paid for nothing, and they don't like doing that. So, because I'm not tenured. So what that means is you either get a freebie on one of the first 3 tests or one of the 2 papers. So if say you don't do well on a paper, you don't do well on a test, you know, the papers can save because the papers are easy, I promise. And I grade super easy on papers. Or if you do well on the test and say you do your first paper because it's middle of the semester and there's not a whole lot going on, you can skip that final paper because that's going to be near the end of the semester. There's going to be a lot of crap going on at the end of the semester. And that's just less for you to do. And it'll be less for me to grade. I'm looking out for myself as well as you. But I also have some, I've had some perfectionist students like, I'm going to do them all so you can drop that 94 I made. It's like, fine. Yeah, so that's the thing. Just letting you guys know. So the way I've done it is it helps everybody. If you make a real bad grade, I'll drop it for you. If you're doing really well, then you can just skip a paper. Or if you want to just skip an exam, not the final. I mean, if you're really sure of yourself, then whatever. But that's up to you. I personally wouldn't take that particular bet, but that's just me. And that's just because I don't like writing papers, even though I'm apparently good at it. That's how I ended up doing history. But whatever. This is old. We don't really do this. We're not doing attendance quizzes, There are makeup exams. Like I said, if you're not here for an exam day, let me know as early as possible what's going on. You know, again, I had an organ explode or my car blew up. I had basically both of those happen in the last 2 months. So like, just let me know as early as possible, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it for exam. And then let me know the earliest you are going to be able to make it back so that I can schedule it with the testing center and then you can go in there and do the thing. And it doesn't have to be on like a regular day that you're here for my class. It can be whatever day you're back. Just whatever day you have time. So like if say you're here, this is Monday, Wednesday class. So say you're here Thursday for an 8:30 class, but then you're done at 10 and you're done the rest of the day, then you can be in there at 10 or whatever. Final exam cannot be. Yes, final exam is not comprehensive. Like I said, it's not going to be from the beginning of the semester. It's just going to be another test. It's going to be whatever from the last test we take. Oh, right. This is something. Coffin really needs to stop the bold. So because they gave me this freaking shop class of a room, we've got a lot of chairs, even though like this particular class is really, really packed on my roll sheet. So if you, as we get to the end of the semester, I'll bring this up again because I'm not going to remember this. You're not going to remember this. Nobody's going to remember this once we get into like November. But if something comes up the week of exams, which is going to be like the last week of November / the first week of December, I believe, and you need to change the day that you're going to take your final, I should be able to do that for you. Like as long as it's one of the days that I'm here, I should be able to do that for you because I'm going to be in here for all of my exams. My other class that's full like this one actually has a few more seats than this. My other class is going to be here at 10 o'clock. There's like 11 people, which is more people than is usually in that class. So there's going to be plenty of room. So yeah, that room is not at capacity. And this room does not have a comfy floor. Essay, as we talked about that, don't plagiarism. That said, I highly, highly recommend that you do use quotations. You know, if you're taking information from sources, especially like historians, take quotes. Use their words. Use quotations. Say who you got it from. Cite it properly. And that makes your paper look really good. That's how historians write, is, hey, you take a quote and said historian so-and-so, or even like a quote from, the person that you might be talking about. That looks really good on a history paper. I'm not saying don't use somebody else's words, just make sure you cite it. But actually citing other people's stuff is seen as really good in historical writing. Just, like I said, I don't want to see 3 people give me the same paper. What'd you do? Did you just print this out 3 times? What's going on? Exam schedule, yeah, he had like, I tried to do when we were going to have exams and have it scheduled out, and that's just, it didn't happen. Email me papers, no big deal. That's supposed to be FMU. That was back when I worked at Tri-County Tech. I will check, if you say, oh, well, if I tell you I didn't get your paper, you're like, oh, well, I emailed it to you, I will just use the inbox's search function and see if I've got it. And if I don't have it, I don't have it. So if you physically hand it to me, I'll physically have it. So, it's easier just to physically hand it to me if you can. I usually do my best to take excuses. Again, this is Kaufman. And also, if you turn your papers in early, I will definitely take them early. Is that it for that? That's it for that. I think that's it. That's it. Any questions about stuff? You have a question but you forgot? That's understandable. That's me every day. Any other questions that you remember? No, I got you. I understand that. If you remember, you can email me. Okay, well, we will start the material on Monday, and we will stick around until closer to 9:45. So yeah, that's it. Catch you guys later.